Welcome to Dr. Baliga's God Knowledge Doc podcast, your quick dive into the latest medical breakthroughs to keep you ahead of the curve. Let's get started. Today is October 3rd, 2025. This video is on 5 articles. The first is from the Nature Portfolio Journals, Communications Medicine, published on 4th September 2025, titled Meal Timing Trajectories in Older Adults and Their Associations with Morbidity, Genetic Profiles, and Mortality. The remaining 4 are from the Journal of the American College of Cardiology, JACC. 2 are original investigations and 2 are accompanying editorials. One is on the importance of breakfast in atherosclerotic disease, insights from the PESA study from Spain. And the second, association of skipping breakfast with cardiovascular and all-cause mortality. And this is from the NHANES database. The first study in Nature Communications or Nature Journal of Nature Portfolio Journals. Older adults face health and environmental changes affecting meal timing. Meal timing may influence morbidity, genetic predisposition, and mortality. So this was a University of Manchester longitudinal study conducted from 1983 to 2017. 2,945 community dwelling older adults, mean age 64, 71.5% were women. Up to 5 repeated measures of meal and sleep timing was available. Tools, linear mixed effects models, latent class analysis, Cox regression. In the genetic subset, 1,226 had polygenic scores. What did they find? They found with aging, there was a tendency to have later breakfast and dinner, a shorter eating window, and a delayed eating midpoint. That is, on an average, they tended to eat later. Later breakfast was strongly linked to multimorbidity, fatigue, depression, and anxiety. The individuals with evening chronotype genes tended to have later meals, while those with obesity genes, there was no link with later eating or early eating. They did find that later breakfast was associated with increased mortality risk, hazard ratio of 1.08 to 1.11 per hour of delay. Survival, early eaters 89.5% versus late eaters 86.7% at 10 years, p-value less than 0.05. What are the limitations of the study? Self-reported meal times, no nutrient timing and frequency data. Healthy British European cohort limits generalizability to the general population. Key takeaways: meal timing shifts with age and mirrors health changes. Later breakfast is a simple marker of vulnerability. Consistent early meals may support healthy aging. This is in a nutshell. Keeping breakfast early may be a simple marker and a strategy for healthy aging. The next study is the PESA study from Spain. The aim was to evaluate breakfast patterns and subclinical atherosclerosis. The study cohort comprised of 4,052 asymptomatic adults, 40 to 50 years, who were employees of a bank in Madrid. Cross-sectional analysis with dietary history and multivascular imaging. Breakfast categories: over 20% had a heavy breakfast, that is greater than 20% daily energy intake. 5 to 20% had a small breakfast, and less than 5% in Spain skipped breakfast. It was a multivariate logistic regression adjusted for demographics, diet, and cardiovascular risk factors. What did they find? Skipping breakfast there was an increased odds of non-coronary, odds ratio 1.55, and generalized atherosclerosis, odds ratio 2.57. people who skipped breakfast had more obesity, high blood pressure, dyslipidemia, and diabetes. Low energy breakfast or light breakfast was also associated with increased carotid and iliofemoral plaque risk, odds ratio 1.2 to 1.3. Limitation of study cross-section, no causality, only Spanish employees, limited generalizability, and there was a small number of skippers who skipped breakfast, only 3%. Key takeaways: breakfast patterns are independent predictors of subclinical atherosclerosis. Skipping breakfast may be a simple marker of unhealthy lifestyle and higher cardiovascular risk. This in a nutshell. Breakfast patterns independently predict subclinical atherosclerosis. Skipping breakfast or a light breakfast is a simple marker of unhealthy lifestyle and higher cardiovascular risk. An editorial in the PESA study discusses the paper. Mechanisms postulated: circadian disruption, neurohormonal imbalance, poor diet quality, and overcompensation later in the day. The key message: skipping breakfast is a marker of poor lifestyle and increased cardiometabolic risk. Public health efforts should emphasize regular hearty breakfast to curb obesity and cardiovascular disease patterns. The next study was the US study. It was a prospective cohort study using the enhanced data from 1988 to 1994. 6,550 adults aged 40 to 75 years free of cardiovascular disease or cancer at baseline. Exposure: self-reported frequency of breakfast consumption, every day, some days, rarely never. Follow-up: 112,148 person years, median follow-up 18.8 years, maximum 23 years. Outcomes: cardiovascular and all-cause mortality, ascertained via the National Death Index to 2011. Analysis: weighted Cox proportional hazards models, adjusted for demographics, socioeconomic, lifestyle, dietary, and cardiometabolic factors. What did they find? 5.1% never ate breakfast, 10.9% rarely, 25% on some days, and 59% had a daily breakfast. There were 2,318 deaths, 619 were cardiovascular over the follow-up period. Fully adjusted hazard ratio for cardiovascular mortality 1.87 for never versus daily breakfast. All-cause mortality 1.19, p-value not significant. Stroke-specific mortality hazard ratio 3.39 for never versus daily. Limitations of the study: breakfast composition was not recorded. Simple baseline assessment and habits may change over time. Possible residual confounding despite adjustment. Skipping breakfast is significantly associated with higher cardiovascular risk. The key message from this enhanced data: skipping breakfast is strongly linked to increased cardiovascular stroke mortality. Public health efforts should emphasize regular breakfast for heart health. Editorial on this US study: skipping breakfast is one of the most common irregular eating patterns linked to obesity, high blood pressure, dyslipidemia, and diabetes. US Enhanced 3, never eating breakfast, was associated with increased all-cause and cardiovascular mortality, especially stroke. Observational nature limits causal inference. Breakfast skippers often had worse baseline risk profiles. Mechanisms: overeating, HPA axis activation resulting in increased blood pressure, lipid disturbances, poor sleep, and activity. Key message: skipping breakfast may be a behavioral marker for poor lifestyle and early predictor of cardiovascular risk. Incorporating breakfast habits into risk scores could enhance prediction and prevention strategies. Consensus: UK study: early breakfast is as compared to later breakfast. Later breakfast is associated with multimorbidity and increased mortality. The Spanish or the PESA study: skipping or low or small breakfast is associated with subclinical atherosclerosis. In the US NHANE study, skipping breakfast is associated with increased cardiovascular and stroke mortality. Key take-home message: regular, early, and balanced breakfast is a simple habit linked to long life, lower cardiovascular risk, and healthier aging across populations. I spoke on this issue on Fox News Columbus, way back in 2018. The link to this to my discussion on TV is available at the bottom of the screen. The key takeaway: eat like a horse for breakfast, eat like a puppy for lunch, and eat like a birdie for dinner. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with your colleagues. When we change how we see disease, we change how we shape lives. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep seeking wisdom. Podcast brought to you by Master MedFacts at mastermedfacts.com.